Dr. Joyce Blueford. I'm the board president of the Math Science Nucleus. I'm also a geologist, somebody who studies the Earth. And so this Tule Ponds at Tyson's Lagoon has been a project that I've been involved with for over 25 years. Our organization, the Math Science Nucleus, which is a nonprofit of scientists, basically wanted to help the environment and to include students. So we have been with the Irvington Benchmark Project since its inception. We've helped to do lots and lots of projects throughout the area. So um, let's let's continue. So now this is a map of the San Francisco Bay Area, Tri-City area. That black line there, let's think of what that black line might be. That black line actually represents the Hayward Fault. And if you notice, there is Tule Ponds at Tyson's Lagoon, was one of the stars. And then you have Lake Elizabeth, you have Quarry Lakes in the upper part, Alameda Creek, the big creek that we have here. These are all areas that are affected by the Hayward Fault. So let's continue going as we go over. Now this is a close-up area of the Tri-City area. The yellow circle circles Union City. And hopefully you know what a watershed is, but this would be called the Alameda Creek watershed. It allows water from mostly the southern part of Alameda County drain into the San Francisco Bay. The next one is the Laguna Creek watershed, and this is the one that Irvington is part of. Irvington has, if you've never noticed, you have a little creek in front of the school on the side, and that is called Irvington Creek. 25 years ago, we named it with a bunch of students, and we thought Irvington Creek would be a good name to call it. Now, on this picture here, just so you know the legend here, the dark blue represents natural waterways. So this is free-flowing water that comes from, that goes down by gravity to the San Francisco Bay. So, and the light blue lines represent storm drains. Now, Tule Ponds, as we're going to learn, is one of these areas where storm water comes into the area. Then the brown lines are poop lines because we don't want all of those to go together. So I just want to set off straight. Tule Ponds is storm water that comes into the areas. We also have an underground creek that adds the water, but it's mainly storm water that the facility is used for. Now, should also mention that the Math Science Nucleus, which I represent, actually manages it for the Alameda County Public Works. So this is part of their flood control. So let's take a look at our watershed here. This is called the Mowry Slough watershed, and look at what's at the top of it. That's Tule Ponds right in this area here. And this water will go through, it goes through Tule Ponds, and then it goes out down to these Newark Slough, which is in this area here. Long time ago, it used to be much wider, and it used to be a lot where there was creeks, surface creeks, but no longer as urbanization continues. So want to make sure that you have a sense of how Tule Ponds got there. If it wasn't for the Hayward Fault, we would not have Tule Ponds because the Hayward Fault dissects Fremont as a whole. If you see the red orange line is the Hayward Fault, and notice that it goes right through Fremont. It goes from Irvington down in where the Gallegos Winery used to be. Automobile Parkway is back out here. This is Central Park, so this would be Lake Elizabeth. And as we continue, this is Quarry Lakes, and then it goes over to Masonic Home. And it goes throughout the Alameda County itself. So we are defines the Hayward Fault actually defines our landscape as it is rising slowly over the last 1.3 million years. So just realize that this water is trapped water from the Ice Age. So during the Pleistocene, water would become entrapped in what we call an aquifer. And the aquifer is called a Niles cone, and it's right underneath us. So the Hayward Fault, as it breaks, it brings the water up and we have subsurface water. So if we look at this map here, this is the Hayward Fault is almost going down, goes into the earth about 9 kilometers. And what happens is the blue area is rock that is saturated with water. And what happens when the Hayward Fault kind of moves, it makes a zone of weakness where the water can then percolate. That means go up. And then that's one of the reasons why we have Tyson's Lagoon. Tyson's Lagoon has been there for at least 4,000 to 5,000 years because of all this breaching of the very well, the waterlogged rocks that are underneath us. Okay, so let's continue. Now, when you work at Tule Ponds, if you decide as a group that you guys want to do your service hours at Tule Ponds, you will learn a lot about biology, because one of the things that you must learn during restoration is that in order to keep little animals and big animals together, you have to understand the biological systems that are working. Now, at Tule Ponds, you're going to learn about plants that are native. That means plants that were here during the Ice Age. And so the big mammoths and saber-tooths and camels, the Ice Age mammals that used to roam this area, would have eaten these native plants. This is something called coffeeberry. It's not where coffee comes from. It does make a blackberry, but it's not coffee. Then we also have plants that are naturalized. That means these are plants. This is a Mexican sage. Naturalized means that it would have naturally become native, especially if birds are bringing the seeds over from, in this case, the southern border. It would have soon become kind of native. And they're usually good for the area because it helps the animals, especially things like butterflies and ants, continue to flourish. But then we have the non-native. Now, the non-natives are usually species of plants that have been artificially brought in here. Like this is one of the big ones we don't like. This is called the Himalaya blackberry. If you notice, it has 5 leaves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It has a really nice berry, and people brought these in because they thought it would make a good berry to eat. They didn't realize that it would encroach on just about everything. So this was kind of mistake when the agriculture people brought these plants over. One of the things that we do here for service is to get removing these, because removing these increases the habitat that we have available for the animals. You're also seeing this habitat that we're building does the following. It provides a place for these animals who are native, like the mallards have been here since the Ice Age, where they can live. When we have urbanization coming and people come in, they sometimes forget about the little critters. Here at Tule Ponds, we don't. We want the critters to survive, and we want to provide them with not only habitat, but food and plants and things that will make their lives easier. Now, let's make believe we're a bird and let's go above Tule Ponds. Tule Ponds is a 5-acre lake, and it is below here. Remember, not only are there organisms in the trees and the land, but underneath here, this lake supports a lot of fish, a lot of microorganisms, and a lot of ducks that have to eat all of these organisms. Main one is, of course, fish, but also the turtles that we have here, the amphibians. They all need this water, and they need to have it clean. Now, as you notice around, these long reeds are called tules. Tules are a vital part of the restoration. Not only does it take out heavy metals in the system from the stormwater coming in here, but it also provides a place for animals to live. Now notice also in the background here we have big trees. Now these big trees also support a lot of our mammals that live in this area, and also birds come in this area. To go over what Tule Ponds looks like, we have three ponds: Pond A, Pond B, Pond C. Stormwater usually comes in from Pond A, that's the bulk of it, and it migrates all the way through. Around these little ponds, we have lots of tules, which help to filter out garbage and heavy metals and some of the pollutants that we don't like. Now, this is actually connected over here, goes into Tyson's Lagoon, and Tyson's Lagoon is the natural lake. Pond A, B, and C were actually made to go, it was kind of like dug out and to make the flow of water. Tyson's Lagoon has been here since the Ice Age. We know for sure it's been here for 5,000 years because of the records in the under below us in the geology of the area. So water then goes out here and then goes out toward the San Francisco Bay. So this is an important kind of runoff area where floodwaters or stormwaters will come into it. Now, this is the Hayward Fault. The blue line represents where the Hayward Fault is actually moving. This is moving at about 5 millimeters per year. So there's constant uplift in this area and side-by-side motion that goes like this. In 1868, the Hayward Fault ruptured and there was 6 feet of movement laterally from Milpitas all the way to San Lorenzo. We also have another trace of the Hayward Fault, and this is a trace that kind of goes underneath, kind of at a slant. That one is not moving on the surface. It's the blue line that is actually moving. Now, let's take a look at restoration and what kids like you can do. This is what it looked like in 1997, the picture in the middle. This was, they were building the homes that are there now, and there was some depressions, but really not much to speak of. There was no tules, there was not much water. Then within 5 years, the picture on the left, these are tules as water started coming in and holding them up. Tules, we started to plant tules, and then this is in 2011, and you can see lots of trees. Now it is much, much more vegetation that instead of planting trees, we have to control the trees. So this is Pond A. Now let's look at Pond C. Pond C is the one closest to the classroom, which you will be using to sign in when you come in. And you can see they're digging a hole. They're making these areas here. And these are little islands that help animals to survive. And this picture here is in 2011. And again, it's much more vegetated right now. Now we have fish and turtles and lots of other animals in that water. Now, one of the things that you will find here that you will not find in other places. This little critter looks like he moved in here about 8 months ago after the storms that we had last year. Now, beavers have been extinct in the Bay Area for quite a while. All of a sudden, they've been sightings. This is the first sighting of a beaver in Alameda County since the late 1800s. Now, this guy here is the western beaver. Notice this is the tail. The tail is actually a skin cells and it's full of fat. So this is really skin that it uses to swim with. Now this little guy came here and it seems to be super happy. It has all the food it wants. It likes willow and cottonwood bark. And you can see right underneath him, you can see the what it's been eating. So let's take a closer look at Mr. Beaver here, and we're not sure if it's a girl or a boy. And so far, we only have one. We sure would like to have a friend. But take a look at him. Notice that its front teeth, you don't really see it because that's how the cartoons make it. That's its bottom teeth, but its top teeth are there. This guy is about 40 pounds. It's a big beaver. Even though you can't feel him, you can actually see him. He has taken a place where he doesn't realize that we can look at him, but you can also monitor him. But beavers are what we call keystone species, and that means when they come around, they usually have the area's in good shape. And Tule Ponds is in good shape. It provides food for this guy. But this is one of the laziest beavers I've ever seen because he doesn't have to make a dam. He's just using the ponds that we have. He doesn't make a dam, and so he just hangs around. He sleeps during the day and goes out and forages during the night. Now this is you can see there's Bart's station here. And these are what we call storm drains. Now this area here we had to clean because there was too many trees and they were all falling down. But I want you to take a look of what it looks like in the rain. That's Tyson's Lagoon in the background, and this is all kind of flooded. Usually children walk this way when they go on field trips. You have to be, this is a reminder that you probably should do your service hours before the heavy rains. So that means the months of October, November, December are usually good, but then January and February tend to be rainy. They are predicting a rainy season again this year. So try to get your 10 hours in before the rains come because it's not very nice. Now, want to go over the projects that you can select. So let's go through these and then I'll go over them at the end when I show you what you would actually do. The first one is invasive plant removal. And this is the largest problem we have on this site. And it includes getting rid of um, English ivy and the Himalaya blackberries. We also have, those are the most, the ones that really cause harm to the animals and the trees. Then we have some other ones like curly dock and pepperweed. They're basically useless because most of the animals do not eat them. So the seeds just keep making new ones. So we have to get rid of the seeds in order to prevent them from aggressively taking over plants that provide food for the animals. Other things like thistle, some grasses, and things that just are not good for the environment. We also have to remove some native plants that are too aggressive. Like I mentioned tules, but I didn't mention cattails. Cattails are also native and the animals do eat them, but they become too aggressive. And I mean, the beaver will eat some of them, but there's too many of them. So sometimes we have to cut those down. And then we have some non-native trees like white ash, privet, buckthorn that we have to get rid of because there's too many of them. Second thing we'll look at is mammal habitat restoration. We only usually have about 2 projects there, and these are little houses that Eagle Scout have created that allow the animals to find shelter during the rain. And those usually need to be cleaned out. Sometimes they need more canvas put over them, so they're kind of hidden. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. Third one is removal of trash and other debris. And the other debris usually has to do with sticks. Too many sticks in the area is not good for the water. quality. And sometimes the little animals, it just gets too much in the way. And as they start breaking down in the water, they produce a tannic acid. And so it's not good for the environment to have too many sticks, even though the little kids like to play swords with them. The fourth thing is we have nectar areas. We have a butterfly meadow in the back, and we're now making one up in the front. And these are areas for bees and butterflies and hummingbirds, which you will be seeing over at Tulipans. You provide the plants, and you will see the animals. Then we have other animal habitat restorations, not just mammals. We have a lot of butterfly habitat that we need to increase, amphibian habitat, reptile, and fish habitat. We have little mosquito fish in our little artificial ponds, and sometimes we have to clean out the mud and take out some of the tules and cattails. So there's all of these wonderful animals that we're keeping. The amphibians, we have three kinds of frogs. We have the chorus tree frog. They're little bitty things. They're only about this big. And they need an area that they have coverage. We also have the invasive bullfrog, but the bullfrogs are food for the big herons that come here, so they're kept at check. And then we also have the yellow-legged frog in one of our creek areas, our underwater creek as it daylights. We also, for our reptiles, we do have three types of snakes. The snakes, they kind of live on their own, but our other reptile, we have the western pond turtle, that needs areas where it can lay its eggs. And so sometimes we need to, that's especially, we got to get rid of curly dock and some of these other invasive plants that get in the way of the western pond turtle laying its eggs. Last year we saw the most pond turtles we've ever seen. We were about up to 45, and I'm hoping we'll get more this year. The second thing we have is, the sixth one is making soil. We create soil by using native crushed up rock, which we have all over the place, and then we mix it with mulch. And then we produce a mixture. We need this because we have tree maintenance where we need to put some of the soil around new trees, or if we're bringing little kids in there, they actually create little planters where they plant their seeds, especially plants that attract butterflies, especially the monarch butterfly, which would be milkweed. And then the last thing that we need help with is upkeeping the trails. Now, and that means making sure that it's mulched. Mulched is usually wood chips. We do it for several reasons. One, that keeps the little kids, because we do about 120 field trips every year with little kids. So if they fall down, they will be, it'll be a nice little cushion for them. But we also do it because the layer between the mulch and the soil underneath there is a great area for worms to grow. And of course, a lot of our birds like worms. And so this provides an area where food can be produced while helping the kids. Okay, now let's take a look at some of these different ways of how do we protect them. Now this is artworks here at Tulipans. You'll be seeing him. He'll be guiding you with um, getting the right kinds of tools. We also have Monica and Caleb that will be helping out too, and you'll meet them when you get there. So let's take a look at what Art's doing. Okay, Art now is going to remove a smaller tree. This is a privet. It's a non-native tree that is very aggressive growing here at Tulipans. So he's clearing around it, and he's trying to get as far down as he can before he cuts the trunk of the tree. Now notice the trunk is small, and in this case he's going to use a lopper? Okay, so he's going to go down. Now remember, different loppers can cut different. Notice the roots are there. Let's get a close-up of it.
and he's just going to cut it off. Okay. Then he'll put a little herbicide on it, and then later on we're going to cover the whole area.
So this gets rid of some of these saplings that there's just too many of them. Unfortunately, we can't save all the trees. Now notice Art had gloves on. We do provide gloves and we provide the tools, but you have to also respect our tools. Let's look at the next one. So now Art is going to not use a lopper, going to use something else on an older sapling.
Here's Art removing another tree. Notice he's cleaned around it. This is a buckthorn, which is also a very aggressive non-native tree that grows all over. So he's coming to the trunk, and he notices it's a little thicker than the other ones where you can use a lopper, and he's decided to use a handsaw. So he's just cutting it as far as he can in there, just to remove the buckthorn. Again, be careful with the saw. It's removed. Now we'll put some herbicide in it, and it'll be ready to be covered.
Okay, so notice that these tools help you do your task, but you also, safety is very important to us. So we will be training you on safety and how to use them. Now, another thing that you'll be doing, this would be over trails, but this is spreading the mulch. We bring this in from tree companies that cut trees and they shred them, and then we use some of the mulch. So let's watch what.
After Art removed the tree, we now start bringing down the chips. Now remember, do it slow, especially if it's smoky, so it doesn't get in your face. You might want to wear a mask, and then you let the smoke go. The whole idea is to get about 6 inches of chips over the area so it prevents photosynthesis, and voila, you got rid of the tree.
Now notice there was big sticks in there. The big sticks we put in, we have these big bins that we can put it in, and then we put it in the green waste, and then it goes off the property. Okay, now this is another area where we're cleaning the English ivy.
Art's now clearing an area that we're going to put mulch over. Now you have to be careful. There's some plants like ivy, which again is a non-native, very, very invasive because it has roots all over it. So as you could see, as he's pulling them up, these root structures. So you have to pull these roots out before you put mulch over. Otherwise, it will go through the mulch. So you can see he's finding it, and you got to get those roots out. Otherwise, it'll just keep growing.
Now, this is true for English ivy and the Himalaya blackberries, where you have to remove the roots because these roots, even if you cut them, they still will come back. They'll grow the plants. That's why English ivy and Himalaya blackberries are first on our list. Now, usually they occur together, so you don't just pick one. You would pick like an area that you would be cleaning out. This is not, this is nature, and nature does what it does, and we have to go with it. Now, let's look at thinning out small trees.
In many of our areas, too many trees are growing, and they have to be thinned out so they can not take food sources from the stronger trees. And so this way we can keep the area clean and also don't allow like blackberry to grow. Like in this area here, look at how the blackberry, the non-native Himalaya, is growing along the area where children will be walking. So these need to be cleaned out.
So sometimes in order to get to the tree, you have to get rid of the blackberries because you don't want to just leave them there and then they can scratch you, and we don't want you to get hurt at all. And that also brings up, please, when you come You must have gloves, but also closed shoes. So no flip-flops are allowed because you'll only get hurt. Okay, now let's look at these mammal shelters that we have. And when we talk about mammals, we're talking about raccoons, which we have lots of. We have a possum, and we have play cats, and we also have feral cats. What I mean by play cats, we have some that are fun. Those are usually the ones in the front.
We have some animal shelters around the place. They need to be cleared out, cleaned, and vegetation around it needs to be cut because this way we can feed the animals or take care of them when they are ill or provide a place where they can seek shelter.
Now, also, a lot of our canvas is starting to deteriorate, and these are things that you can go home and see if you have any leftover canvas to make a little covering for them. So there's a nice way of cleaning these, but we only can do about 2 projects. We have about 10 of these, and we break them up into like 5 each. So, but okay, now we also have areas because of last year's rains, a lot of big trees fell down and we had to clear them. So, as we're looking at this very large
We
area,
have some large areas that have just been cleared of some of the trees that had fell. And so we need to take out the ones that will be invasive and those that are native. So that means really cleaning this area up so it grows to be a beautiful natural habitat for the animals.
so in here we select the trees that we want to grow, and we try to put native grasses and bushes underneath them so it will survive. But this is a, believe it or not, behind these trees here is a creek, and we want to make sure that the animals have access to the creek because they, just like us, need water to survive. Now, we also have a tree nursery that we need help
This
with
is our small
maintenance.
nursery that we have. These are in 15-gallon and they need to be maintained. We need to trim around the sides. We need to mulch them, provide them with nutrients, and make sure the water is good. And to trim them back so they, when we do plant them in the wild, they can survive.
Now, also, we have 3 college interns, and they also will be helping out. So you kind of understand why you're doing this. This isn't just to do service, it's also to learn how, as when you grow up, what's important about saving the environment. What is it takes? And it takes a lot of work, as you'll find out.
We have lots of areas where along the roadway non-natives are growing. We need to remove them with a shovel or a lopper and toss them away. We have lots of areas where blackberry is coming up and those need to be removed. Otherwise they'll take over the entire area. We also have trees, sapling trees that are not native and we need to remove those.
So in an area, there might be multiple things. So I don't want you to feel like you're trapped in one area because nature just isn't like that. Sometimes you have to solve multiple problems in order to fix an area. Okay, now let's look at the logistics of this all. We do have a shed. Now in this shed, we have tools. This is our greenhouse. Some students, if they want to plant like milkweed or other uh, plants, this is where you can do that. Only usually a few kids will or know how to even do that, but we have a greenhouse in case you want to do that. This is our green waste right here. So a lot of our uh, if you're bringing in twigs and sticks, you would throw them in there, except the large ones, which we have another area. And if you notice over here, we have buckets, big buckets in here, and those you would use to fill up and then dump them over. We also have another place for wheelbarrows. Now this is inside of our tool area. And so we also expect you not to play with tools. Unfortunately, tools, especially nowadays, they're very expensive. One lopper, which is one of these, cost almost $50 each. So we don't want to play with them, but also for safety, these are tools. We try to keep them sharp, but if you do break them, just tell us so we can remove them. We don't want tools that can cause harm to be in the mix. So we have lots of shovels, we have lots of hard rakes, and we have a hard rake and a leaf rake. A lot of times you want to use the hard rake if you're moving things around and not the soft rake, which is, unless you're certain plants, you can do a soft rake. Now this is also in the back where we have wheelbarrows over here. We have garden areas. So like say you do want to grow plants. We do have the planting things and we do, that's where you would make the kind of the soil. So we have a pergola here with jasmine in it. And this is right next to where we have um, our nursery area. Now you have to remember we are in the middle of a city, guys. So no loud noises over, or no, like sometimes you want to play your music loud. We don't allow that. If you use your earplugs, that is just fine. Okay, now, how do you do this? Now you got all excited about what to do and help the environment. How do you do it? Well, on our website, which when I get off of the PowerPoint presentation, I will be showing you our website. You can pull this from our website. And what you need to do is you need to sit down with your group and figure out what your project, what your service project would be. So on the first line, topic of benchmark project. So if you're doing monarch butterflies or soil preservation or helping animals, that you would put in this line here. Please put your science teacher's name because it's the science teachers that we deal with mainly. They're the ones that will check. Sometimes they call and they want to know if this group is doing their job, and we deal with the science teachers. Now, this list here, I want you to list the students in the group. Make sure you put an emergency phone number, not your cell phone, but a parent number. Then where it says contact email, that would be the leader's email. So we're only going to contact, there's going to be a lot of you guys. So we want you to just put the email that we will be sending things. Monica will be sending most of the emails out, but this is how we contact you for appointments or for if you have general information that you want, we need this email. So the service activities, you wouldn't fill that in. That's just for us to write down where your group is working. Then in order to keep track of your time, now we have two ways of tracking time. This one is specifically for your benchmark. The other, when you come in, you must sign in. We have papers so we know how many kids are on site. It's 17 acres and we don't want to lose any children. So we keep track of who's out there, so to make sure that everybody is where they should be. This is, you can just put your student name, the time, the date, and then the hours. This way you can keep a running hour of how many hours you have. Usually we are open on Saturdays from 9 to 12. That's 3 hours. And some on most afternoons, except for 3 afternoons, and these are all listed on our website, you can spend 2 hours, but we don't suggest you do the morning and the afternoon. So all you really need to do is to come 3 times. You get your 9 hours, and then you leave an hour for later on where you want to come back just before you do your projects to take pictures and to check up on your project. So, but you can do more than 10 hours, but for benchmark, you need 10 hours to get full credit. If you do more than 10 hours, those then will go toward your 40 hours of community service in order to graduate from Fremont Unified. So if you want to work more hours, you can. They will be still used on your record. Now, leader's last name. This is how we alphabetize it. Once these sheets are given to us, we have a master list, and this is when you come in and when you're leaving, this is where you can put your hours in here. Now, we have this on our website, and I'll show you there, but there's two ways of doing it. Either print out the PDF and then bring it with you on your first appointment, and or there's a jot form where you can input the information directly from your cell phone, and then Monica will get the form and it will be ready for you when you do come. The first time you will need to make an appointment. What we'll do is we need to go over like what you would actually be doing. I know we just went over it quick. So if we have a bunch of people that are doing non-native plants, we'll tell you to come on this Saturday and we'll do a little show and tell and make sure you know how to use it. Then after your initial 3 hours, then you can come, as long as you have another person with you, you can then come and finish up your hours. Okay, so let me go over these again, just so when we get into questions and answers, if you have questions on any of these, and then I'll also be shutting this down and going on to our website. So invasive plant removal, mammal habitat restoration, those are the just the mammals, trash and stick pickup, uh, anything to do with bees, butterflies, and hummingbirds, usually those are in our gardens. 5, other animal habitat, so that would include amphibians, reptiles, fish. Then creating soil, and if you want to grow plants, this would be involved with soil. And then the upkeeping of our trails. So just to go over, and if there's any other things that you might want to do, you can suggest. Okay, so I'm going to stop share. Okay, and then, guys, you've been seeing Monica. This is Monica. She's going to be your email contact. So I'm going to now share again. Okay, so now everybody should see our website. Those lines will go away in a second. So remember, the nonprofit is Math Science Nucleus, but it is owned by the county. Now, if you notice in here, on the left-hand side where it says local watersheds, if you click on there, this is that first map that I showed you. If there's another place that you might want to investigate, you can click on these areas, like say, here we got Masonic Home, if you want to learn about composting and reforestation, and maybe some of the other projects that you can do. So there's different things in which you can look for information. Now, if you look on the top, it says home, map, general, biological, geological, chemical. This provides more information about the different animals, so you can go back on here. So there's an awful lot of information on these pages. But now, if you want to work at Tuliponds and you see a lot of plants, you might want to look at, this is actually a book of information. So like if you're not sure, remember I mentioned the word wetland, if you're not sure what a wetland is, this will give you background information. So this is a lot of reference material that you can look at. So if you want to look at the mammals that are here, these are the animals that you would find here. And now we have to put beaver. And so the different plants. Now also too, there's a website called iNaturalist, and Monica can show you when you come if you want to know the different plants, and to put it on your cell phone and you can identify just about anything. So this is where that information is all. We also have videos. I'm going to show you this quick video, but we have some longer videos also.
Welcome to Tule Ponds at Tyson Lagoon. Tyson Lagoon is about 100 meters wide, 300 meters long, and 2 meters deep. It is a sag pond caused by the Hayward Fault that is continually replenished by underground aquifers. It was later developed to store stormwater, and it cleans that stormwater before it goes out into the bay. The tule plants the site is named after are used to clean the stormwater and also support the food web of the site. One unique feature of Tule Ponds is its urban setting. It's surrounded by several neighborhoods and bordered on one side by the Fremont BART station. Tule Ponds is used to teach elementary students about environmental principles. This caterpillar will be a great demonstration for both children and parents to learn about monarch butterflies, which live and breed especially at the butterfly meadow contained within Tule Ponds. Elementary students can learn about composting at composting parties, freshwater fish on fish days, and much more. Tule Ponds also teaches high school students about environmental restoration while providing them an opportunity to gain community service hours. If you want to volunteer at Tule Ponds, come on Saturdays from 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. To learn more about Tule Ponds at Tyson Lagoon, check out this link. Thanks for watching.
Okay, so that link itself, let's go back to this link here. If you go over to Tule Ponds at Tyson's Lagoon and you click on volunteer, this is where all of this information I was talking about, where you can get the PDF file, which is, let's see, where is it? You can download the PDF file here, or you can do a jot form, which is you can use your cell phone. So if you click on PDF, it'll bring up this form. You can either, if you have PDF, you can write in there, or you can just print it out and then your group can just write it in and then we can put it in like that. It doesn't have to be typed, guys. And remember, all you're really going to be doing is putting this in, and then you'll it'd be good if you can, well, you can also take a picture of the PDF and then send it to Monica, which we have Monica's address here. Where is it? Here's Monica Escueda at msnucleus.org. Send it to her, and then we will make sure you put your right email, and then we will then make a date on a Saturday that you guys can come, and then you can work your 3 hours and get that out of the way. So there's all this information on here that you can do. There's also another video on here that another student did. Now you have to remember, guys, that you have to show this stuff to your at the end you have to have an area where you display what you've done. And so video is a great way of doing this stuff. And if you get good pictures, we're always interested in that. Monica runs our Instagram, so we can always put them on there so other people can enjoy. Okay, with that, guys, I think I've um, done just about everything. Now, if you have any questions, please, you can unmute yourself, be courteous, and then if we have any questions, just ask. Any questions, guys? So if you want to work here, you basically have to fill out the form, send it into Monica, and then we'll get back with you on a date. So we will start next the first week in October that your groups could start coming. And we do highly suggest all 4 of you guys come, so all 4 of you know what to do. I know some of you are 3 or some of you are 5, but this way we can figure out how you can participate on your own time after those 3 hours. So any questions, guys? Have I taught everything? Monica, did you want to add anything?
Hi, everybody. My name is Monica. I work here at Tilly Ponds. I wanted to add that we do have some videos uploaded on our Instagram page. It's called Tully Ponds, and they are informational videos that you can use to help you when you're doing stuff here at Tully Ponds. Like there's the mulching video or the pruning video. So if it's helpful for you, you can access it through your phone and you can look back at it whenever you have a question, or you can always talk to me, Dr. Blueford, Joyce, or Art. Okay.